Welcome back to We're Reading Virtual Stories Women's History Wednesdays for March 10th, 2021. Equality's Call, The Story of Voting Rights in America by Deborah Diesen, illustrated by Magdalena Mora. Our founders declared when our country began that consent of the governed was part of the plan. Through voting, elections, and representation, the voice of the people would strengthen our nation. In fact, though, for years this founding ideal was extended to some, and for others not real. But we heard in the distance equity's call, a right isn't right till it's granted to all. The state set rules about who got to vote, and your gender, your race, and your wealth were of note. White men with property went to the polls, but the rest of the people were left off the rolls. The dream of democracy wasn't yet true. There were changes to make. There was still work to do. But we heard growing clearer equity's call, a right isn't right till it's granted to all. The rules about wealth were the first thing to go. As more were enfranchised, the voices could grow. And a small group of voices was raising the fact that enslavement was wrong, an unspeakable act. Good people stood up for the truth that they knew. Abolition and suffrage were long overdue. We heard ever louder equity's call, a right isn't right till it's granted to all. There was war in our nation and slavery ended. Amendments were added, the franchise extended. Now more men could vote, at least so the law said, yet denial through taxes and tests was widespread, and the voices of women were mostly omitted, and only some states was their voting permitted. But nothing could muffle equity's call, a right isn't right till it's granted to all. Suffragists didn't give up on the fight, and the 19th Amendment gave women the right, but voters of color still met with oppression. Their voting was hindered by brutal suppression. So we passed legislation to make voting fair, to extend and protect voters' rights everywhere. We heard it, we felt it, equity's call, a right isn't right till it's granted to all. The journey's not over, the work hasn't ended. Democracy's dream must be constantly tended. But where we are now is a debt that we owe to the work of more people than we'll ever know. And each time we vote, we acknowledge that past, we honor our rights to ensure they will last. For to vote is to answer equity's call, and each time we vote with them all. The end.